This week in the shop, we're gonna rebuild this old Ex-Cell-0 3-inch by 110-inch grinder. It's 208 volts, 3-phase motor. It's got a nice little table rest here that's removable and repositionable. It's got a belt guard, and you can see all the parts are there, but it's pretty beat up. I got it at a school auction, and it's going to replace my 3x79-inch belt sander here. The problem with this one is if I'm grinding metal on this front plate here, I always get a bit of an angle to the grind. So with this one I can grind it flush. Plus this model here, if I remove that, I can adjust the angle. So if I'm grinding high-speed steel or something like that, I can adjust the angle on that piece. Let's see. Now I don't see any huge problems with this machine as is. I'm going to check all the bearings and hopefully I can reuse those because it's hard to find those bearings right now, but they look all good to me. I really don't think this machine got a ton of use. Maybe make a little catch basin there for all the chips and hot sparks that come out. But the biggest problem I found is, I don't know if you can see it, but right here there's just a little bit of an indent where all the metal grinding was happening. So I think I'm going to take that plate and maybe resurface it, but for now I'm going to swap it with the one down lower. I think they're exactly the same. Actually, there's the part number there, and 41 14 14, so it's exact same. So I'll swap that plate with that plate, and hopefully that'll be nice and smooth down there. I'm also going to remove all these school board safety features because I really don't think I'm going to get my hand caught in that zone there. So follow me along. We'll get this machine all up and running using stuff I have around the garage right now. I'll probably do green to match the other things I'm doing. So the plan is all my tools are going to go green and my workbenches and carts and stuff are blue. I don't know why, I just like those colors of the bandsaw at the back. The top, I don't know yet, maybe yellow, maybe not. I don't really like the yellow. We'll see what we can do with this machine. I got new bands, I got new belts. I also got a new stop-start switch from General. I picked up a couple of these for another project, so we'll use that one there. And I'm going to use a controller, a VFD. If you have a frequency drive I picked up, it's just a cheapie in there, so we'll hook that up. Alright, let's disassemble the pivot. There's that. We got a 19mm bolt, so it's got one nut. It's got a nice flat end on it. It should just slide off. There we go. Now, since we're not using the original electrical box, it's been disabled anyways, I'm going to put the new one on. I'm going to take off this school board safety shield. Okay, the belt tension is controlled by this. So as the belt tension is released, you put the belt on, and then the motor, I guess, holds the belt tight to the proper tension. And then get the pivot point out. I think the whole piece will come off in one. So now I gotta clean this up, clean up my tools, and we'll get this thing ready to paint. And here is it, all cleaned up, ready for paint. I'm just gonna blow it out and degrease it, and then it'll be ready. As you can see, the front was the worst spot. I got most of the rust off, so it should be much better now. So 2 13 mil bolts here, probably going to be tight, not too bad. It's interesting, this is a different color than that. I think at one point they painted some of this machine and the others. This has a bit of a relief angle cut into it and a similar sort of stamping, so I think this is original to the machine. I don't know if you can see where it's dished here, but let's see if you can see that. This one's in much better shape. So I'm going to use this one where I do most of the grinding, and then lay this one up at the top and deal with it at a later time. So I'm not seeing any play in the bearing at all. It seems to spin freely. I don't hear any noise. So I think that one's okay. Looks pretty good. I think I'll just clean it up a little bit with a wire brush. What's really nice about this belt grinder is there's positions for every angle. So that locking pin just sticks in there. If it's 90 degrees, right, I think that's a pretty interesting design. We'll clean this up and give it a coat of paint. Alright, for the logo I'm going to pull off the masking tape, tape around the outside, and then spray paint it red, and then I'll come back and sand the top off, just exposing the silver from the aluminum backing plate. So we'll have green, then red, and the top will be silver. My plan is to use this old shelf, recycle this shelf, to mount the controls for the belt grinder. I'm going to run the stop-start button here, and then the inverter up higher. Power cables will run through 2 holes in the bottom here. And then use the bandsaw to cut along these lines, and then hopefully I can find a way to fold this up to provide support. It'll then be mounted to the machine at the bottom here and at the top right here. So let's cut this out and see how it looks. Next I'm going to score along this line with this angle grinder. I'm going to make sure I don't cut all the way through, and then that'll allow me to bend this metal up by hand and then tack weld it to form the half box. So as you can see, the inside is nice and clean. I'll just tack weld up, little spots I broke through, and the outside's pretty nice through here. Just a little bit problem here up in the corner, but everything else is real nice. Let's see how the electronics fit. So that'll go on the machine like that. This in here, not there. So it should attach to the machine just like that. I've marked the 2 locations for the hole saw to drill through. The electrical cords will come up through these holes. So I'll just use a little bit of a cutting oil there. Put a little bit onto the blade. And just go slow. It's time to put the motor in. I'm going to test fit it and then cut the hole for the wiring. We'll see how that goes. I'm planning to make a little catch pan here for the filings that come off, but until that happens, I'll just use this little bread pan. It fits pretty good there, and it won't interfere with the belt. So it can just sit right there and just catch everything that comes off. And here it is, the completed Ex-Cell-0, made in Canada, 3-inch by 110-inch belt grinder. Now I've left off the I think improvised back cover here. I think this machine originally came from the factory exposed like this. And this will be handy for grinding difficult shapes. I might be able to use the back of the belt there. But there's quite a bit of protection here at the front in case the belt breaks, so I'm not too worried about the dangers of that. The table moves out, so you just pull that knob out and carefully swing. It's a little tight here with the 3-inch belt. Swings away. So if you don't want to use the table, you don't have to. It's adjustable through all the angles, so you just pull this knob out and then it swivels quite easily, and the tension's taken up by the motor tension there, so I can adjust the tension on the belt by cranking down the motor tension. But it's pretty close with the spring on the motor for all positions, and it locks in all positions, so you could do like a nice 45 if you want to do a 45. You can grind flat if you want to grind flat, all the way up through the motion. But generally I use this in the 90-degree position. Takes a minute to get in with one hand. The top roller is just by this knob, keeps the belt centered, and you can grind down on the wheel down at this end with it in the horizontal position. I've added the handle here, makes it nice and easy to open. So let's fire it up and try some test grinding. VHD comes on. Right now it's set for 43 Hertz, which should be pretty good. And the nice thing on this belt grinder versus my old one is you can control the speed. So if I'm doing something very delicate, I can slow it down. If I want to hog off a lot of model, I can do that too. So let's start her up. So the machine's at 45 degrees or roughly thereabout. I'm going to try grinding. Now there is adjustments on the table so you can slide it in closer to the belt, but for now, since this machine's going to live at 90 degrees, I'm going to leave it here. But we'll give it a little quick try here. It's 65 hertz. So it's quite impressive, the angle cut. I'm quite happy with that. Tons of sparks are being caught. I don't know if you can see, but when I'm grinding, all the sparks are being shot down in here and it catches all the sparks. And we'll see how much are caught in my chip pan, my catcher pan. But very cool. The belt tracking is changing slightly as the belt stretches, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. But other than that, quite happy with this new machine. So I hope you enjoyed my video on the Ex-Cell-0, and if you have a chance to pick one up, I think it's a great machine to have in any shop.